What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here. So, every single year, before we start a new expansion, I like to give my characters a fashion overhaul. Bungie is always adding new armor pieces and beautiful new shaders, so I like to take some time and make custom outfits for all three of my characters. On screen now is some of the fashion I've had in the past. I wish I had it saved in a more concrete form, like a video or something, but these screenshots of various styles will have to do. I get a lot of comments on my videos and Instagram posts asking what shaders I'm using, and with this final season of Witch Queen coming to a close, I figured I would do a Destiny fashion show of sorts and show you some of my favorite outfits. Every season, each character of mine has a running theme. So you'll see my Warlock is black and red, my Titan is black and blue, and my Hunter is green. I know it is not the most creative thing in the world, but with how often I switch loadouts, I like to keep everything on a similar color palette. So with Lightfall around the corner, I will be doing the same kind of color theming as I did in the past. But with Bungie introducing in-game loadouts in the coming year, I may theme my builds around each subclass. So Stasis would be kind of black and blue, Strand would be a green theme, Void purple, etc. I think that would be really awesome, especially if everything can be changed relatively quickly with the click of a button. And I know Dim can do this, trust me, I have many sets saved in Dim. But you can't change loadouts on Dim with inactivities. So say I want to run Celestial on one boss, Arc Staff on another boss, and then Tether on another, I don't want to be mixing and matching armor pieces. Hence why I go with one color scheme. With all that being said, let's start on my Hunter. We'll start with my favorite build, which is the Arc Assassin's Cowl build, or as I like to call it, the Ad Clear Assassin. This is probably my favorite Hunter build overall, and one of my favorite looks. For the helmet, we have the Gilded Memento ornament on the Assassin's Cowl with the Tide Smoke shader from Season of the Haunted. I like how the helmet blends in here, as some of the shaders on this helmet pop out too much for my liking. From there, the next three armor pieces all have Gambit Jadestone, which you'll find is a bit of a theme. This shader used to have a lot more glow than it does now thanks to a patch that Bungie implemented, but I still think it looks good. For gloves, we have the Contender Grips, which came from Guardian Games. On the chest piece, we have the Celestial Cuirass ornament, which was from Season of the Lost, I believe. And the legs are just the Errant Knight 1.0s, which are a world drop. I think these are some of the cleanest looking Hunter legs out there. I'm definitely a big fan. And for the cloak, we have one of my absolute favorites. This one is from Year 1 Iron Banner. It is called Ephrodite's Iron Cloak, and it's from the Warmind expansion, and we have the Gambit Keladon on it for a shader. When I made this style a year ago, I would just choose from a variety of green shaders to see which I like the best. Hopefully Bungie implements a way for us to organize shaders in the future, but I will show you some of the common green shaders that I like to use for my Hunter. You'll probably notice that most of them are Gambit shaders. So basically, I would just click on 10 or so of the green shaders on a bunch of different armor ornaments and see what shaded the best. That is about the only Arc Hunter build that I run, so let's move on to Solar next, with my favorite Solar set, the Caliban's Hand build. We have the helmet ornament from the Fortnite Destiny crossover with the Old Growth shader. I like how the shader makes the mask itself green, as well as causing the eye part of the helmet to glow. Next we have the exotic Caliban's Hand, and once again we are running Gambit Jadestone. I love how it makes the knives glow green, I think it just looks super cool. For the chest piece, we once again have a Guardian Games piece, and as usual we shaded it with Gambit Jadestone. And for the legs, we have the Couturier slacks with Boreal Char. I think these pants are super clean, especially with this look. And then we have the same cloak as last time. Next, we have a Frosties build, and I just want to highlight a couple of my favorite pieces here. The arms are from the Last Wish raid, the Grips of the Great Hunt set, and they are some of my favorites. And the Hardened Basilisk vest from this current season also looks really good, I think. And I also like the look of Frosties in general. So next, we have a classic in the Celestial Nighthawk. I wish the green eyes glowed a little more, but I do like the ornament here for Celestial as I think it looks really good. The rest of the set is pretty sleek. I have the Intrepid Discovery grips, which are quite slimming, and the boots of the Ace Defiant from the Leviathan raid. And then we have a new cloak, but it is one of my favorites, the Solstice Cloak, rekindled. So it's just a blue, but it looks really good. I think it's super clean. So that is going to do it for the Solar sets. I don't have a Stasis set that I like to run on my Hunter, so let's go to the last subclass, which is obviously Void. The first one is one of my favorites. The theme is like a samurai warrior. I just love it. We have an awesome helmet in the Pathfinder's helmet from Season of the Lost, the Contender Grips yet again, 6 Coyote with Atmospheric Glow for a little extra pop of green, and then the Road Complex AA1 boots. Again, these are a pretty slim and sleek boot that I like a lot. And finally, we have a unique cloak from, I believe, Season of the Chosen. I could be mistaken. But we have Boreal Char on it, and I just think it really ties together the whole samurai look. Next, we will look at an awesome looking exotic in the Graviton Forfeit. We have the Rigel Crossroads ornament on this one for that deep smoky purple. The arms and chest you have seen before, and then we have the Pathfinder's leg guards from Season of the Lost. Next up, we have every Void Hunter's new favorite exotic, the Gerfalcon's Haubrick. I decided to go with an all Void theme here, since this thing is all about Void and volatile rounds. So we went pretty basic using 4 of the 5 Abyss Walker ornaments. I believe these dropped with Void 3.0 with Witch Queen and Season of the Risen. So that is it for the Hunter. Now let's go to my next character, Warlock. So this character has a black and red theme, so once again you will see a lot of the same shaders being used. Carminica, Carbon Blood, Midnight Smith, Valkyrie Zero, Crucible Prestige, Carmine, and Red Jack, and New Age Black Armory are all really good for black and red theming. So let's start with maybe my favorite Warlock build, the Starfire Protocol build. Bold strategy to start a fashion show with such an ugly exotic, but utility takes precedence over fashion in this case. Regardless, we have a pretty decent looking build even still. We have the Season of the Haunted Season Pass helmet, which is absolute fire. Pun intended. We are using the Valkyrie Zero shader here. For the gloves, we have the Grasp of Avarice dungeon set with Carminica. The Starfire Protocol also has Carminica, which makes it pretty much all black and red. And then we have the Tusked Allegiance boots with Carminica as well. And again, no ornaments. One thing to note here is that legs barely matter on a Warlock in a lot of cases because the robes often cover them up. And then for the bond, we have a small, subtle one with Carbon Blood to provide a red accent to the mostly black robes. Next, we have the Fallen Sunstar build, and I just wanted to highlight a couple things here. First is that we have 5 different shaders in use, yet they all go together fairly well. We have the Dragonfly Regalia gloves. These were an Eververse ornament from way back in Forsaken. And we have the Corrupting Echo robes from the Grasp of Avarice. I really like how the spiky shoulders go along with the spiky helmet. Sticking with Arc for a second, let's look at Geomag stabilizers. I said boots don't matter on a Warlock, but these boots with the ornament and rose scale shader look super awesome. Here's hoping Chaos Reach gets a buff in Lightfall and I can use this sexy build again. I mean, even the stats are sexy on this build. A couple other things to note here, we have some of my favorite ornaments in the entire game. People still yearn for this Warlock helmet, which, like the Hunter Cloak, came from the Warmind era of Iron Banner. It is called Ashraven's Wild Hood if you are curious. The arms are from one of the Solstice of Heroes, I do believe, and these robes are friggin' sick. They're the Scorned Baron robes, which I think were just a random drop after Forsaken. They're either my favorite Warlock robes or second favorite to the Winterheart robes. But we will get to that set of robes later. Anyways, now that I have shown off some beauty armor pieces, let's go ahead and look at another good looking exotic with the Crown of Tempests. It is very similar to the Geomag look, but I will show off the Crown of Tempest ornaments so you can see what an awesome looking exotic this is. I get major Hive Guardian vibes from this set, and I love it so much. Before we move on to the next subclass, I just want to show a subclass neutral exotic, the Transversive Steps. These bad babies look amazing with the red and black theme, and if you are lucky enough to have the Photo Finish shader and the Mind Strider ornament, then you can do this. I gotta say, Bungie has been killing it in the style game lately. I have yet to incorporate the new Iron Banner Bond into my sets, but Photo Finish works on it as well, and it's just absolutely awesome. It's so cool. Good job, Bungie. So next, let's go to Void, and we have the classic Controverse Warlock build. We have the Dragonfly Regalia helmet, the aforementioned Winterheart robes, the Elect of the Empty boots, and the Controverse Hold exotic gauntlets. Now, at first, I didn't like this ornament at all until I applied shaders. Bungie, please let us shade things before we buy them from the store. New Age Black Armory was about the only shader that would make these black and red, and I think it looks really awesome. Additionally, Photo Finish also works on these, so that is pretty neat. So now, let's circle back to the robes that I mentioned earlier. I mean, can we just admire these for a minute? Even though I switched up my color schemes every year, I ran these things for about 3 years straight. Seriously, they were the only robes I ran. They are from the first dawning of Destiny 2, and they are just so damn sexy. They've got to be my favorite set in the game. And next would definitely be those Scorned Baron robes, and probably my third favorite are the Epielos Following robes from Season of the Haunted. The Haunted Warlock set went very hard in my opinion. So unlike the Hunter, I actually do run stasis on my Warlock, particularly in PvP with Ophidian aspects. So here's the build, but I just want to give a quick shout out to Osmiomancy because they go really hard with this build as well. And they look really great. But back to the PvP build. First off, the stats on this build are absolutely absurd. I basically always have an ability up anytime I need it. I will make a build breakdown on it one day, but until then, let's just enjoy how it looks. We have the cat helmet from the Fortnite crossover, the Ophidian aspects, which I still think look the best without an ornament, though the snake ornament is pretty sick. We have a different set of donning robes this time around, and then just some boots, who really cares because Warlock. And then these are some of the bonds I rock if you are interested, which again, I doubt you are because who really cares? It's bonds, you can barely see them. So that wraps up the Warlock fashion. So now let's check out the Titan. So first of all, the theme is black and blue. Every single shader you will see is the Cryptic Legacy shader. You get it for going flawless in the Deepstone Crypt raid. Now, I did LFG for that, and people died on the jumping puzzle after A-Track so damn much. This was an annoying shader to get, but I am so glad I got it. On my Titan, I basically played two builds, but they are both insanely strong. My Syntheseps build is literally the best build in Destiny, I swear to god. It's so OP. I also love Synthos in PvP, so let's look over my main build. So even though I don't have much for Titan builds, I think my Titan is my favorite look of all my characters. For the helmet, we have the Mask of Rawl from the Leviathan raid. I still think this is the nicest Titan helmet in the game, though with the reintroduction of the Iron Banner helmet from D1, it's finally getting a run for its money. For arms, we have the OG Syntheseps, no ornament. I love the blue veins on this. For the chest piece, we have the Resonant Fury plate from the Vow of the Disciple raid. It's such a cool piece with how the ribs move all around. And for legs, we have the Froststrike Greaves from one of the Dawning events. They shade really nicely, they're black with lots of blue accents. And for the mark, we have the Contender's Mark from one of the Guardian games. And then I rock two other butt towels depending on what I need for an affinity on my class item. So that is the first build. The next build is Heart of Inmost Light, so that covers both Void and Arc Titan. I'm not looking forward to the day that this exotic gets nerfed, but I definitely think it's coming. Subclass 3.0 has made this absolutely insane. So there's not much different with this build. I use the Legacy Oath Gauntlets from the Deepstone Crypt raid, and the Hoyle without any ornament. I know it has two ornaments, but I am not overly fond of either, at least with this shader. Maybe when I redesign my characters, I will switch it up. I really do not like the arms on a male Titan at all. They are too bulky in my opinion. If I could, I would go back and make a female Titan, but that's just way too much work just for aesthetic. In addition to the male Titan arms all being way too bulky, they don't really shade that nice with the DSC shader that I use. However, the Titan does have some decent exotic armor pieces that look alright. Dune Marchers are great in PvP and low-key solid in PvE as well, and they look great. Peregrine Greaves have a decent style with the knee pads matching my shader pretty well. Worm Gods are quite ugly, but you can see some different shiny armor with this build. And lastly, Phoenix Cradles look pretty awesome in my opinion. And now, as a bonus segment, since we are talking style, I'm not going to hit on ghost shells too much, but let's go through some of my favorite emblems, ships, and shaders. The first one is for Challenge Mode King's Fall. It is Hive themed and pretty cool. Next is the nicest emblem in the game, the one for doing the Prophecy Dungeon solo flawless. Next, we have another solo flawless emblem, this one for duality. Really, all the solo flawless emblems look pretty good, and they mean a lot to people. Next, we have the Prophecy Emblem Wannabe. I think this and this one came from the Fall Guys crossover emblem code. I just like the bright colors. The Crucible emblem is hella clean. The laser tag weekend from when Prometheus Lens wreaked havoc on Trials of the Nine. The Vault of Glass emblem for carrying 10 Guardians through the raid. It's such a clean emblem. I love this one so much. The Hubris of Niobe for completing Niobe Labs, which is one of the coolest secret activities in the game. And of course, the cat emblem, because who doesn't love cats? Next, for Sparrows, I hate Always on Time, but I always run it just because of its speed. Impact Velocity is a strike-specific reward and feels incredible to drive. And Harbinger's Echo you get for shooting all the eggs with Wishender on the Dreaming City. The Taken aesthetic is cool as heck. The other ones are just ones that I find unique or cool in some way. I think I love the Warmind ones just because Warmind means so much to me. It was the expansion that made me fall in love with Destiny thanks to the Whisper of the Worm mission and the direction the game was headed. I loved Sleeper Simulant, as well as Escalation Protocol and the Ikelos weapons. And speaking of the Whisper mission, we have the awesome ship from there, and I still run it to this day. We also have some certain ships for completing a couple different raids, and just some unique looking ones that I think are cool. And with that, that is going to do it for the video. If you made it this far, then you're an absolute saint. I am really excited to have this video out there as a keepsake of some of my fashion. Like I said, I loved some of the outfits I rocked in the past, and while I could still recreate them if I wanted, at least partially from memory, it will be nice to have this video as a reminder. And hey, maybe it helped you get some ideas of how to style your own Guardians. I'll be working on switching up my style for Lightfall over the next month, so if you have some cool looking Guardians, send me screenshots on Twitter. My account is linked in the page banner on my YouTube homepage, or just search It's Tizzle YT on Twitter. Again, I thank you so much if you made it this far, it means the world to me. I can't wait to hit the ground running in Lightfall and pump out lots of YouTube content for all of you. Happy fashion building, Guardians, and take care.